Folks, my next guest tonight was a major part of the British music and social scene during the 60s. She's just written a tell-all autobiography entitled Faithfull. Please welcome Marianne Faithfull. I have to tell you something. I was walking around with your book all day today, reading it, you know, looking for questions to ask, and people keep taking it from me. Everybody wants to read this book. I mean, it's filled with fascinating stories, but you've led a life.
Yeah, maybe even more than one.
You've done quite a bit. I mean, the question that comes to mind immediately is, in this book, you're hanging out in the 60s in London with Rolling Stones, the Beatles, Bob Dylan, the Kinks, really just everybody who was part of that whole scene.
Yeah. And,
you know, you wonder, how did you fall in with these people? Did it just happen? I mean, how did you end up in the center of that scene?
Well, it felt like it just happened, but I sort of think now it must have sort of been the right thing. I went to a party in London when I was 17 with my first boyfriend, John. And I was discovered at the party by Andrew Oldham, who managed the Stones. And 3 weeks later, I made my first record, which was As Tears Go By.
As Tears Go By, right, which was a big hit. So it really happened really overnight. I mean, that's something people dream about, is I'll go to a party and I'll get discovered. It'll just be like that.
I don't know if I wasn't really dreaming about it. I mean, although now I'm really glad, because I got the life I wanted.
Yeah.
And I got the life I like.
Well, it's an amazing story. I mean, really, the heart of the book is your relationship with Mick Jagger. You had a relationship that lasted many years with
5, I think.
with Mick. And
4.
4, 5, 8. Who can be sure?
Yeah, so well, does it matter?
Right. No. But one of the things, you say some very compelling things about him. Something that stuck out to me is you compared him to Ronald Reagan.
Yes.
And it's not the hair.
No.
Well, what about him was like Reagan?
Well, you know, he did go to the London School of Economics. It's that kind of thing.
Right.
The money, probably.
Right. Well, you actually say in the book that you thought he was more conservative than probably most people would think, and that he was a bit of an observer of the drug scene. He didn't so much partake as much as... You said he was a little like an undercover cop.
God almighty, Reagan, an undercover cop. Yes. Well...
It's in here.
Yes. I don't mean it quite as bad as that sounds.
Sure.
I mean people who sort of pass as a drug addict without ever doing the drugs, which is what an undercover cop does.
Right. He was.
Occasionally they have to do a few drugs, you know, just to keep.
Yeah, but you said that you felt that he really he didn't want to just completely lose himself in that culture.
I mean, I must say I rather admire that about him. You know, I think it's quite a positive thing that he's like that. And being so sort of conservative and right-wing and all that is it's a bit more acceptable in Mick Jagger than it is in Ronald Reagan, isn't it?
I think so. Reagan's a great guitarist, though. People don't know that.
Well, Mick Jagger isn't running the country.
No, maybe someday. You never know the way things go. In the book, you first of all, you point out something I didn't know, is that you inspired a lot of Rolling Stones songs. Let's Spend the Night Together, You Can't Always Get...
I love inspiring Let's Spend the Night Together. I'm very proud of that.
Right. Do those songs have a different meaning for you than that? They must. I mean, everyone else just thinks of those as, you know, classic songs of the 60s, sort of the soundtrack for the 60s, but they have this very different meaning for you. Does that feel a little strange?
They do, yes. My friends actually tease me about it a lot. It's got to the point now where any song that comes on the radio or anyone plays, I always go, that song's about me. And, I mean, they ring me up and say, and you know, Marianne, you remember Woolly Bully? Is that about you too?
I think Funky Funky Broadway.
Yeah, they're all about me.
All right.
Let's face it. Yeah.
Okay, well, I think another fascinating thing about the book is you got to know a bunch of the Rolling Stones, and you talk about you had a fascination with Keith that doesn't seem to end. You always seem what made him the most fascinating in a way to you? of the Stones, Keith Richards?
I don't know, just my kind of guy, I suppose. He's a sort of arty, bohemian, very talented person. I like people like that.
Yeah. Well, you got to meet quite a bit of them.
Lot, yeah.
And you look back on it now. Does it all seem like a dream? I've heard other people who lived through it talk about the '60s and say it just seems unreal because it's so certainly it's very different from the culture we're living in now.
It is. I must admit that the culture we're living in now seems like a dream. In a way, it's
a good one, or a...
Yeah, it's fine. I'm all right, but I wonder how it must be for young people now. How strange it must
it's very different. I mean, I read in this book, and you're talking about the sexual practices and just the whole attitude towards sex. And,
casual.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yes, extremely casual, and that's something that young people today they can't afford to be that way.
No, they can't. And I'm glad. I mean, I have a son of 28, you know, and he just got married, and it was with great relief that I went to his wedding. You know, thank God.
Right. I think a lot of mothers feel that way.
Yes.
Has nothing to do with anything else. All right. Well, it really is a fascinating book. You also have a Faithfull, which is your greatest hits, is out on CD. People should be aware of that.
Yes,
and
thank you.
Thank you very much for coming. I appreciate it. It was nice to meet you. Marianne Faithfull, everybody. We'll be right back. See you in a second.